Welcome to another episode of CCQs, that is Cash Compass Questions, where I answer all your questions that you guys have emailed me at thecashcompass@gmail.com, or that I snatched from the comment section because you guys' comments is just perfect. If you have any questions, please feel free to email me or throw it in the comments. I'm always looking at my comments and making sure I respond to you guys. So without further ado, let's get into it. All right, so the first question reads, as far as research goes, do you believe Google to be a reliable source? And if so, how would I know which websites/articles are accurate information? Oh my goodness. That is such a great question because I think everybody Googles things. It's to the point where you don't say search for it. You say, I'm going to Google that, even if you're not on Google, right? So Google has become such a household name that we associate Google with search. Google just equals search. It's kind of like Band-Aids. You call it a Band-Aid, but it's not really called a Band-Aid. Or is it Q-tips? Anyways, so basically, oh my goodness, there is literally any research you find, there can always be an exact opposite argument. I mean, there's always an exception to the rule. So can you believe Google to be a reliable source? It depends on who you're asking, right? Because, for example, with this whole vaccination thing going on, a lot of people believe in vaccinations, right? A lot of people they can show you facts. They have all these doctors who have gone to Harvard and Yale, and they've gone to the University of Mars. I mean, I don't know, all these well-accredited people. There's also people who went to Harvard, Yale, and wherever that can tell you why vaccines are absolutely dangerous and why you should not take it. So it all boils down to, when you're using social media or when you're using, Google, make sure that you are getting multiple sources, and also make sure that you're looking for information that goes opposite to what you believe in, right? So if you believe vaccines are super safe, well, then look up arguments for why vaccines are not safe, right? You want to have a well-rounded opinion. You don't want to have what they call confirmation bias, which is where you're only looking at information that kind of follows your narrative, right? So always kind of take everything with a grain of salt and ultimately trust yourself. I mean, too much people blindly believe people and they don't even think to themselves. They don't use any critical thinking at all. They just heard it on TV or they saw it on social media, so it must be true. And none of you guys are like that because you're here, right? So I have full faith that no one that watches this channel does suffer from confirmation bias, because we're always looking for information from multiple sources. So definitely do that. I do want to show you guys something very interesting though that I did realize that I saw on Google. So of course, take this information and do whatever you want with it. But if you use any 3, and I think it even works with 4 digits, if you use any 3 or 4 digit number and put in new cases, no matter what number you put in, you are going to get plenty of articles on the first page of Google with quote unquote that exact number of cases happening. So I want to show you guys. Let's say so I typed in here 830 new cases. So automatically more than 830 new cases in Indianapolis, Virginia. 830 new cases. I mean, and you can just keep on going. It doesn't matter what number you type in. 392. All of a sudden, there's new cases there. New cases in South Dakota. So what does that mean? That means that these were pre-written articles, and no matter what number you put in, they're going to have some sort of pre-written article. Throw in that number that you had put in there to give you some sort of news article that there was that many cases. So one could argue that, maybe Google isn't reliable, right? Why is this even allowed to happen? Why is it that there's pre-written articles that they could just throw a number in and boom, all of a sudden there's an exact number of cases in some sort of state? It's definitely weird. I don't know what to make of that. When I got that information, I was just kind of like, all right. But that's just proof that there's a lot of propaganda going out there, right? There's a lot of fear mongering. Ultimately, you have to go back to the source, which is you, and see if you trust yourself and if these things sit right with you or they don't. I mean, honestly, that's ultimately all you gotta do. All right, moving on. The next question/comment says, I honestly don't know what to do. Some say invest and not save because your money is not growing in your savings account. However, if you invest in the stock market, that will eventually crash. The savings you invested depletes down to nothing. Oh my gosh, so great. So a lot of people, and I actually have a video that I'll plug up here if I can remember, but I have a video talking about whether you should save or invest or whatever. And of course, ultimately, again, it does go back down to you. If you're somebody in the situation where you're like not so comfortable yet about investing, maybe you don't feel comfortable, maybe you don't really know the stock market, maybe you don't have enough money for real estate, or you don't even know where to begin in real estate, whatever the case may be. If you have debt, it almost in every single situation makes more sense to be debt free and pay down your debt. Why is that? because you have a guaranteed return, right? If you have credit card debt and you have a 22% interest on that credit card debt, if you pay that debt down, then you are guaranteed to save at most 22%, right? Because if you keep that balance on your account for one whole year, you're going to be paying 22% on whatever that was. So you have a guaranteed return of at least some sort of amount when you are paying down your debt. And that's a great place to start when you're comfortable, because what if you are putting all this money into investing and you're still sitting on debt? Like, does that make sense to you? For some people, it might make sense, right? Because if your debt, for example, is like student loans, where you might have a 4% interest rate, but honestly, you could put your money in the stock market, or you could put your money in gold or some other asset and get more than that, then it might make more sense to just invest, right? But as far as the stock market and your savings, yes, if you have your money just sitting in a savings account, it will lose money. That's just going to happen, because a lot of savings accounts right now are not giving you more money than the inflation rate, at least what they claim the inflation rate is, right? So they're claiming inflation is 2%. That means your money loses 2% of its value every single year. So you would need to be having your money in something that makes more than 2% a year just for you to come out even, right? At least 2% a year to come out even, and then more than that to come out on top. So for sure you're losing money in there, but sometimes that might have just be, it is what it is, right? Like if I'm looking to save for a house, I don't want to gamble with that money and put it in the stock market or put it into anything else, because I actually need that for my down payment. So sometimes you have to just kind of take the L, right? But other times, if you have debt, definitely pay that debt down. I can see the stock market going up for a long time. There might be some sort of, fluctuations here and there. We'll see what happens after November. But honestly, no matter which person wins the elections, it's going to be stock market positive. One might be more stronger than the other. And if you want me to do a video on why I think that, let me know in the comments below. All right, so the next question or comment reads, could this economic strain and the manipulation be trying to devalue the dollar on purpose? I keep seeing people selling the idea of going back to the gold standard because of how the government has been weaponizing the dollar. Okay, so is it on purpose or not? I don't know. I tend to think so. I tend to think that these people who have supposedly gone to these great schools can't possibly be this dense, right? Like, you can't possibly think it's a smart idea to get out of a debt crisis by issuing more debt. No one thinks that makes sense, okay? You can't possibly rationalize spending more than you're making and trying to cut your revenue, right? Anybody who's making more than they're spending, the last thing they're going to want to do is make less money, right? And if the government's money is through tax revenue, why would you cut taxes when you are spending literally like over $1 trillion more than you make? Right? So these people are smart. They should be able to know that. That's kind of like everyday knowledge. But of course, to play devil's advocate, most people do this. Most people spend more than they make. Most people can't manage their budget because they're not properly taught. So is the government special? No, right? So are they doing it on purpose? I would love to say no, but it just seems like they're too bright to not really think this through. You have so many different people in economics that are extremely intelligent, right? So it's weird. But on the other hand, it could be unintentional, right? Some people will truly believe, well, we have to spend more to make more, and they might think it makes sense to keep on spending this money even though we could never pay that debt back mathematically. And even if the math could add up, like, it's just, we're 26 trillion deep, baby. I don't know. And then the other thing about the gold standard, I don't know about that either. That's kind of like asking a person who's always in debt and they kind of need their credit card to survive, asking them, hey, can we take all your credit cards and you just kind of make the money you have work and don't go into more debt? Some people would do it, but most people won't, because they're like, no, we need this. I need to go to Mexico next month. I need to buy these new clothes. So I can't really let go of this money, right? So I don't know if we'll ever go back to a gold standard. I think they might have some sort of element of a gold standard just to kind of trick you and make you feel like, oh yeah, it's more secure because it's backed by gold. But to ask all these economies to go back to a gold standard would be to ask everybody to just kind of get their act together, learn how to budget right, and just kind of spend what you make. Nobody's doing that. These are honestly some really great comments and questions. Please keep them coming. I love reading your guys' comments. They're so insightful. You guys are really smart, and like, you think outside the box, and some of you even challenge me, and I love it. Anyways, next question or comment says, my question is, how do we as a working class or working class poor build wealth and security? I'm tired of the rich getting richer and the rest of us keep struggling. Oh my God. Yes, of course. It's never going to stop, right? The rich are always going to get richer. The poor is going to get poorer. And the poor that are getting poorer is really the middle class kind of transferring over into the poor. How do we get out of that? It's a game. This whole thing is a game. And you have to learn the rules. That's it. People were getting mad at Trump because he allegedly paid $750 in income taxes. I don't know if that's true or not. He did that legally, right? Because if you did it illegally, then of course Democrats would be all over that and trying to get him like out of the office, right? And impeach him or something like that, okay? So it's legal. That means that you can do it too, right? We can do illegal things also, but we could damn sure do legal things. So learn the tax system. You have to have a business. I know it's kind of hard to break the cycle because you've been taught, everybody has been taught to become a worker, go to school, go to college, get a great job. We're not taught enough to think outside the box, provide a need, provide a service, provide anything that you can. Use your talents and profit off of them, because when you do that, every hour and every minute of work that you put in goes back to you. Same thing with my YouTube channel. Every hour that I put into this goes back to me because I'm getting paid. Of course, I give Google a cut, but that's part of business, right? I get paid. I get paid for all these things. So it's my business. I make considerably less money here than I do at my day job, but this means so much more to me because it's literally my business, and I can take a lot of things off as deductions and credits on my taxes, right? So I can deduct a partial amount of my internet expenses. Everything that I buy, like for my camera, all my equipment, I can deduct that. My computer, I can deduct that. So my memory card got full, so I don't remember what I was saying, but I think I was saying with your own business, you can play the game that these people who are rich are playing, right? Because you're doing all these things legally. So learn the tax code or hire somebody who knows the tax code. Get a business. Don't just depend on your W-2. Like for the W-2 employees, don't just depend on your check, because you're not going to be able to take advantage of these kind of things. Get into real estate. In real estate, even if you're making thousands of dollars in actual money, you can look like you've made a loss on paper because of depreciation. These are what the rich people do. They have tax havens. Then when you get more sophisticated, you can move your money out of the country and go into certain tax haven countries, right? They're playing the game. They know it. A lot of people sit there on Instagram saying, oh my God, I don't have any money and I need to get a president. No, it shouldn't matter who's in office, right? If anything, you'll learn who's in office and then you know how to kind of work the system depending on who's in there. You can't look for a saving grace because it's not coming. I guarantee you, the people who are super rich, we're not putting their money in a 401k saying, yes, I'm going to be a millionaire. No, you're not. I'm sorry. This is the reality. I love keeping it real with you guys because you guys can take it. You're not going to get super rich and comfortable like that. You're going to end up in the poorer class because they're just kind of keeping this gap even wider, okay? You've seen it plenty of times on my channel where the home prices are just going so much higher than your average income. You can't keep up like that. So you won't be able to keep up if you're having a W-2 and everything that you buy has to come out of your regular money. When businesses purchase things, they can deduct that from their revenue, okay? That's what you have to do. You have to have a business. I mean, that's what most people who are super rich do. I mean, yes, there are people who work for these really big companies and they become rich that way, but you're also giving up your time. And to me, time is the true wealth. So when you're thinking about like buying a home or something, it's like, can you buy a single family home? Sure. But can you buy a multi-family home and rent out one side and live in the other? Yes, and that person's going to be paying your mortgage off for you. So now you have a house that you didn't even pay for, that you'll own outright and eventually, right? And you still get to live in there. A lot of people structure it in a way where they can actually live for free. So you're getting paid to live in your house. These are things that people learn. They take advantage of it. They don't just sit around, woe is me. They get out there and they take action. So we can't prevent the rich from getting richer, but we can pick what side of the divide that we want to be on. Okay, next person says, have you ever thought of having a guest on? I think you and blah blah blog would be funny together. Maybe it's just me. So for those who don't know, blah blah blog is actually my really good friend Marsha. If you guys love being entertained, definitely look at her channel. I'll put it up here. And of course, I've definitely thought about having guests on here. At the beginning, I was like not so sure because I wanted to kind of just build a relationship with my people. And I know sometimes people get a little bit when they have guests on, but let me know if you guys would be interested in that and who you would want to have me on. I actually did, me and blah blah blog, which is Marsha, we've talked about it before, so it's gonna come eventually. And other people, yeah, I would love to. They have to just let me know. All right, let me end it there because this is going to be getting a little bit long. Again, if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to me at thecashcompass@gmail.com. I will have that in my description. Also, feel free to write it down in the comments below too if you ain't scared, right? And if you have anything else going on, you know what I'm going to tell you to do. Go ahead and binge watch me. And until next time, keep your money up.